the idea of this panel is just to hear some of the successes of different star groups that have been going on this term, despite all the challenges. And hopefully that'll be really encouraging and inspiring for those of us listening. And I'm certainly hoping to come away with some new ideas that we can put into practice. So firstly, I'd love to hear from Maya. Maya is the president of Sussex Star. Maya, how have you been engaging students sort of online this term?
Hey, thanks so much for the introduction, and thanks to the STAR team for what's been an amazing day so far, for the really inspiring talks. So at Sussex Star, it's been a challenging year having to move everything online, as I'm sure everyone can agree. The big thing that we loved to put on at Sussex Star in previous years is live music events. So we had super successful Rock for Refugees, Rave for Refugees, and a gig in collaboration with NME last year. So that was something we really wanted to continue moving forward this year. So we started off the year with a DJ live stream, which was actually super successful. We had over 100 people viewing it at one point. Involved a bit of a learning curve. Elsa, our vice president, had to learn how to use a new bit of software. But yeah, that was great. And music is such a good way of involving people kind of outside the immediate people who are interested, and like kind of spreading the word to a wider audience. But because it was a live stream, we didn't want to limit how many people could view it, because we wanted to make it worthwhile for the DJs who were giving up their time for us. So we actually didn't make it a ticketed event, and we just did a donation optional button. So we didn't raise as much money in comparison to our in-person live music events. So we had to get a bit creative with how we could fundraise for the year. So something, we took inspiration from other star groups. I think it was Nottingham Star, saw a post on their Instagram. So we did a Run for Refugees this lockdown as our main fundraiser instead of the gigs. And that was super successful. We managed to raise we raised £590, and we managed to collectively run 385 miles in 2 weeks, which way more than our initial target. So yeah, it's been interesting moving online, but yeah, pretty successful so far.
Great. Glad to hear that. And Ahlen, Ahlen is the vice president of Glasgow Star. You guys have been doing some fundraising as well. Could you tell us a bit about that?
So we started off the year raising over £1,000. I think it was like £1,066 for Maslow's Community Shop, organisation we collaborated with during lockdown, who provided food vouchers for the refugees and asylum seekers in Glasgow. And we also did like a 5K run, cycle, walk kind of challenge during lockdown. And yeah, that put us in a really good position for the beginning of the year. And our fundraising team has been challenged this whole semester, and we recently just put up our Depop page, so hopefully we'll get a lot of like donations from that. So that's something we're quite excited moving forward with. Yeah.
What is a Depop page? Sorry.
Depop is an app where you could sell clothes. So what we've done this year is we advertise it on our social medias so that people could donate their clothes to us, and then we'll sell them on. Yeah, does anyone else know Depop? Because it's quite a we thought like for our audiences, Depop was the best way. It's very similar to like eBay or thinking of like other shop apps like that off the top of my head, but yeah.
Oh, that sounds great. And is it quite easy for people to get involved with that? Is that something you'd recommend to other groups?
Yeah, I would recommend it. One of the girls who are on our fundraising team, previously last year, she managed to raise like over like £1,000 for her own charity. So hopefully we'll be able to do the same and raise money for Star through Depop. Yeah.
Wow, brilliant, brilliant, thank you. And our third panel member is Tash. Tash is the former president and current volunteering coordinator for Northampton Star, and she's one of the student trustees as well. Tash, how has Northampton Star managed the transition to online?
Thank you, Isaac. Yeah, I think as we can all agree, adapting to the new climate has been very difficult, and this has been a similar but also very different experience for students and people who are seeking asylum. So we've managed sort of swiftly to move our conversational English classes online, and also we've been able to do some fundraising things as well. So for example, given the fact that people are surviving in a normal situation on £37.75 a week, and then now the financial situation is compounded by coronavirus for everyone, but we wanted to respond to the needs of our local community. So in Northampton, most of the people who we support are young and they go to college, where they would get 5 school meals a week. But obviously with college being online, they're now not receiving this. So what we wanted to do is to address that need, the financial need, but also the stress and the burden which that would sort of develop over time. So we were able to fundraise, and at the start of Corona in March, we put 2 consecutive 8-week projects for £15 vouchers a week. So we were able to support 25 people through that. So that's one way which we've adapted. But yeah, it's been a bit of a weird one, hasn't it?
Oh, that's great, helping people with what they need. This is quite a difficult question, but something we've struggled with is working out what people need and how we should respond to what they need rather than what we want to provide. Do you have any advice, and this can go to any of the 3 of you really, how do you act responsively to what people need?
Yeah,
sorry, you go ahead.
Okay. I definitely agree, it's really hard, and obviously we don't want to impose, but we want to be an assistance, I guess, if you can use the word. So I think it's good to be able to foresee potential issues, but also I guess like healthy conversation between the people who you're working with is one thing which is going to be able to identify problem areas or potential problem areas in the future. And then also another piece of advice I would give is to work collaboratively in your local community. So start with our voucher schemes, have worked very closely with Northampton Town of Sanctuary, and I think without them and their databases and their contacts and their understanding of the demographic here, we wouldn't have been able to do what we have done. So that would be my advice.
Great. And Ahlen, can you tell us what kind of organisations have you been partnering up with in Glasgow?
So one big one, which I forgot to mention earlier about the fundraising, was the Scottish Refugee Council. We managed to get like a huge lump of fundraising from them, which helped us fund our conversation club, for online conversation club. And what we managed to do also was to help our community. And I completely agree with Tash. You have to work with your community and ask them what you need or what they would need. For an online conversation club to work, they need access to certain gadgets, top-ups. We also provided like learning packs for every single one of our learners through our funding from the Scottish Refugee Council. And we just asked our learners what they wanted. And a lot of it was smartphones and top-ups so they can access Zoom. And also, we also gave, like, if they had kids, we also gave them like their kids learning packs as well, just to help like with the overall, because I know that lockdown and self-isolating can be very isolating and really bad for your mental health. So for us to be there and providing those like small things that they could do when we don't have our online conversation club, it just makes it a lot more better for them, I think.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, there's no point running these things if people can't access them. So yeah, it's great that you could enable them to do that. Maya, could you tell us a little bit about the volunteering projects you've got going on in Sussex?
Yeah, so actually we started the year without a volunteering project. Sadly, the conversation classes we were partnered with shut down at the start of last year. So Mausi, our volunteer coordinator, worked really hard over the summer to try and set up a new partnership, and she was super successful. So we've actually been working with Common Ground, which is an organic food growing project in Brighton. It's a lovely project, and the whole idea of it is to run workshops and sessions with the local refugee and asylum seeking community, and to be quite collaborative with them in it. But unfortunately, because of COVID, they had to shut down their workshops. So instead, they shifted their focus to donating the produce that they grow. And they, in that doing so, they worked with Voices in Exile, which is another Brighton-based charity. So they donated the food that they was grown instead. And it's been a great project because it was food-based and all about growing. It's been able to run through the lockdown, so the volunteers have still been able to go out, help garden, which is also so good for volunteer mental health as well. So yeah, that's something new that's been set up this year, which we're so pleased to be working with them.
That's brilliant. It's so difficult to set things up this year in particular.
Yeah.
And that sounds like the perfect thing for people's mental health at this time. Yeah. I should have said to the audience, do send questions into Amos or Emily, and they'll pass them on. We're planning to leave about half of our time for audience questions, so do send those in. That would be brilliant. Great. Okay. So Ahlen, you have done really well to engage your MP. Can you tell us how you went about doing that, and how other groups might manage to do that?
So just give him an email. Our MP is Patrick Grady, and he's been lovely, and we've been working with him for a while now. Even the STAR members before me who worked on the Families Together Act. And then last year we did a Museums Without a Home exhibition where we raised 600 signatures for Families Together Act, which most really think wouldn't be enough. But if you're really just like ask Patrick Grady, and we're also very lucky that he was very passionate about it as well. He managed to like bring it up to the House of Commons and really like bring in the that campaign to everyone else in Parliament, which is so great. But yeah, if you just want to contact your MP, it's super easy. I think there's like you could definitely Google it online and then find out who's your MP in your area and just give them an email and just wish for the best. Yeah.
Great. So there's not too much of an obstacle to people doing that. That's brilliant to know. And how did you show that a lot of people were engaged with this as an issue?
Say that again, sorry.
So how did you communicate that a lot of people were involved?
So we managed to get like through the event Museums Without a Home, we asked everyone for signatures, and we also shared it with our friends, shared it on our social medias, just like reach as many people as you can. I find that this was like before lockdown, so paper signatures in the university is like where loads of students are around is a great place to start and ask for people's signatures. And if you really explain to them what the campaign is about, they'll be happy to give your signature. So it's just like that initial push to to go up to someone and like tell them about it and be that person who's like, please sign my petition. So yeah.
Great, thank you. And this awareness raising is a little bit different now, but there's still a lot of ways that it can go ahead. Tash, can you tell us a little bit about how you've managed to sort of educate people and raise awareness as well?
Yeah, for sure. So I think one of like the natural benefits of a response to the coronavirus and its implications, especially for those who are seeking asylum, is that you can get more media attention. And this is something which Northampton has been relatively successful at. So for example, the fact that we were able to move our English conversation clubs online meant that the university was interested to portray how their students had been reacting to a situation. So that was one way which we've done that, and I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, I don't know, but I'm sure many universities would be still willing to include that somehow and to talk about how their students have responded. So I think that's something which other people can engage with too. And another way is through social media, I guess. Through our social media and through the university as well, through links we have on the university, we were able to connect with local radio stations who were actually quite willing to have us speak. So this is a really great way to raise awareness, because it means that you might be able to access people who wouldn't normally hear or sympathise with the cause which you're speaking about. So yeah, I think entertainment links and things like that are one way to raise awareness.
That's brilliant. It sounds like you achieved a really wide reach there, especially with the radio. Was it difficult to get yourselves on the radio?
I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I think it was through the university. So we have one really great member who's he's a vice chancellor of the university, and he's very supportive, and he's worked with us collaboratively for a few years trying to get equal access scholarships. So he's provided us with a lot of guidance and connections that way. So he was able to link us and to ask for that. Yeah.
Great. Okay, I'm going to ask you all the same question now. Could you tell us maybe your one best moment, the one moment this term where you thought, this is all worth it. This is, one moment where you were really pleased with what you'd achieved. I'll go with Ahlen first.
Thank you, Isaac. I think maybe because our conversation club was such a struggle to begin with, especially because we started off with like an outdoor conversation club. Obviously that didn't work and we had to adapt to all the restrictions, and now it is what it is now. One satisfying moment I had is when we delivered all the learning packs to our learners, and we saw everyone like face to face again, socially distanced, and just to see like the big smile on their face, and like I felt really like satisfied with my work, and like that everyone was doing really well, and they were so happy that conversation club was like running again, because that was a big thing that we really wanted to push this year, because we've done it for so many years, and we've managed to have such a big community now over conversation club. Like even outside of Glasgow, we had like a learner from Edinburgh and a learner from London, which is like amazing, and we just want to continue growing. Yeah, so that's quite
yeah, that sounds like a really good moment.
Yeah.
when you can see people in person again. That is brilliant. And did you say it was a bit of a slow start when you were first online?
Yeah, so because we wanted to do an outdoor conversation club, we just and we didn't have like the funding just yet. once we got the funding, it was like smooth sailing from then on, and we managed to give everyone access, because not everyone had access to a device to have Zoom on, or data or Wi-Fi. So we really had to like make sure that everyone had that, so every Zoom they'll be able to log in. Yeah, so that was quite a big challenge for us, and we're so glad like we're over that, and we're still providing top-ups for everyone, and that's something we want to continue onwards and in the later year.
Great. Well, that is encouraging. These things often sort of start quite difficult and with quite small numbers, but yeah, they do grow. That's great. And Maya, what was your highlight of this term?
Yeah, so last year we actually were awarded University of Sanctuary status, which was a massive achievement and so much effort from the committee last year to be involved with the application. And as well, kind of similar, like a couple of years ago, Sussex has 2 Article 26 undergraduate scholarships, and a couple of years ago they kind of sneakily tried to get rid of them, so there's a real fight to safeguard them. And then this year they've actually extended it and included a master's scholarship as well as the 2 undergraduate ones. So yeah, that was a massive achievement, and like the accumulation of lots of years of like continuous hard work on the equal access at Sussex. But yeah, that was great news. That's kind of come from the uni sanctuary status, like the fact that the uni wants to protect that element more. So yeah.
Oh, that is brilliant. I'm really glad to hear that. That's something we're going after at Birmingham too. So that's very good. And Tash, any particular standout moments for you?
Yeah, I think for me, so after we'd used the fundraising to address sort of a financial concern, we then changed it towards the social isolation. So we applied for funding, we were successful, so we were able to do like trips like barbecues and picnics and bowling trips in bubbles of 6. And on one day, this was when volunteers had returned over in September. So we organised a trip where we went in bubbles of 6, a mix of volunteers and the youth members who attend our partner organisation. And we were in bubbles of 6, and we were cycling a 50-minute distance towards a lake. But on the way, we had to take pictures of like a thatched roof or a telephone box, and we had to go in our groups of 6 and follow directions. So obviously this is using like conversational English and learning about what thatched roof means and things like that. And you really have to work together in your team. And can I just say, it took us about 3 hours to travel the 50-minute distance, but the faces of everyone and uniting when we finally all made it there, that was amazing. And it's sort of like such a team bonding thing, because you really go through different moods throughout that kind of trip, but it was really great.
Wow, that sounds brilliant. That sounds brilliant. And I hope that we can get back to that soon. Let's hope. Great. Well, thank you all. I'm going to have a look at some audience questions. So we've got a question here. How supportive have your unis been with changing the way you're fundraising and volunteering over lockdown? And how have you negotiated this situation with the uni and with your external partners? Any of you can come in on that one.
Interesting. We didn't really get any funding from our university. We looked at for our other partners, for example, like Scottish Refugee Council, but we have been working closely with the uni to become a University of Sanctuary. It's taking a while. It's like, I don't know how long it should be, but we started last year, and we were just trying to organize all the information and like where our scholarships are. And last year we had nothing. We didn't have like a working group or anything, and our refugee champion is always like flying about in different countries. And then this year we managed to set up a working group with the university and other societies in the uni who also are involved in like with refugees and asylum seekers. So that's a big step forward with our relationship with the university, because it's usually like very very independent what we do. So we're hoping to continue strengthening our relationship with our uni.
Great, great. Does anyone else want to come in on how they're working with their uni?
Yeah, so our uni is very supportive in terms of events, but not so much in volunteering. That's all done pretty independently from our uni. But our SU often either gives us like a loan or funding for our events. So before, when we did our in-person gigs, we'd either get the full amount funded to pay for the venue, or it would be a case of they'd loan us the money and then we'd pay it back in ticket sales. But this year, because we're not applying for in-person event venue costs, we've actually managed to guarantee funding to pay for a guest speaker to come and speak. So on the 15th of December, we've got Jazz O'Hara from the Worldwide Tribe doing a Zoom talk for us. I'm just going to be a self-promo. It is open to everyone. And tickets are £3.50. You can find links on our social media to the ticket website. But yeah, that's something that our uni has supported us with, because otherwise it would have taken a lot of fundraising in order to put on the event. But yeah, we're hoping to raise money on top of that by having the event be ticketed.
Well, that's great. We'll definitely plug that for you. That sounds brilliant. Great. Could I invite Nancy from Start Now, if she wants to unmute and share what their groups have been doing? Have we got?
I've asked her to unmute. It might be. She was telling me that her internet's not very good at the moment.
Oh right.
Hello.
Okay.
Oh,
I connected with my phone, so
here she is.
can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay. So we are the Greek part that we are doing conversation clubs. We're running 2 conversation clubs each week. Actually, we have some of our students here with us. For example, Ioanna, Maria, etc. And we are also running all our clubs online, because right now we are in a lockdown too, like you. It's a little difficult for all of us to try to have a stable internet connection. So there are some times that some of our students, some of our beneficiaries can't connect. And for example, we start our group with 20 people and we are 10 in the end. Or for example, we are presenting something and because of the internet connections, we're logged out. Like today, for example, that I couldn't connect with my computer. Actually, we also have an activity that we are doing with Greek camps, and we have some girls refugees right now all over the Greece that our students, our volunteer students, describe them what it means for a woman to be in Greece, to be in a Western country. So we can try to show them what it's about being a woman in Greece, for example, and what their abilities are, for example, with university or with their working environment for the future. The majority of them, they want to be doctors or translators, or they have a lot of dreams that they want to make them be true.
Oh, well, it's so brilliant that you're there to encourage them along. And yeah, I know that it's difficult with lockdown and Zoom and all of that is a challenge. But it sounds like you're doing really well. It's great to hear from you as well. Glad that Star is going international. Brilliant. Right, we have a few more questions from the audience. Question for the panel. Have you been able to recruit many new volunteers during COVID? And what strategies have worked well for that?
So we were quite lucky to have an in-person stall this year for Freshers Week. I think we managed to get quite a lot of volunteers from that, and I was very surprised when we first had our Zoom meeting with Amos. there was quite a lot of people on that Zoom meeting, and I was very surprised that most people who signed up for the volunteering also wanted to volunteer for our conversation club, which is great. I think what we just need to keep doing is like reminding everyone like, oh, there's always spaces on our conversation club, because they just need a gentle reminder from now and then, because it can be a bit like in some weeks we'll have like way too many learners, and then we'll just have to ask like, oh, like, is anyone able to volunteer? So and we'll advertise that through our social medias, Facebook and Instagram, and we're going to start advertising that on our emails as well. So yeah.
Tash and Maya, have you struggled to recruit people during COVID, or have you found it okay?
Yeah, we found it quite difficult, to be honest. I think it was much harder with everything online. I think the awareness was not so good in Northampton, and also for our society, what we found is the trend that it seems to be our intake comes from first year international development students, but that course is now discontinued at our university, so that's a bit of a bummer. But I've seen in the chat box, and I think this is such a good idea, to email heads of departments which might be related. I think it was someone called Toby who said that, and I think it's something which we have done in the past, and we need to do it now. So I think that is a good way of getting the message out to people who might be interested.
That's a brilliant tip. Yeah, I'm definitely going to write that one down.
Yeah, what we did at Sussex to encourage new volunteers was we had a volunteer information talk at the start of term. So we invited guest speakers from Common Ground, and then we also invited Letty, who is ex-president of Sussex Star, who has set up her own volunteering charity called Conversations Over Borders, which does online conversation classes via Zoom as well. So yeah, so they're great, and so we've been sending volunteers that way. And then we also had someone from Indigo Volunteers come in and speak. So I think having lots of different charities at the talk was like made it a bit more appealing to lots of people. So yeah, we had quite a good turnout, and then also recorded it as well, because a lot of the times with Zoom events, people can't attend it and then they want the information afterwards. But yeah, it's not been too much of a struggle getting volunteers, luckily.
Oh, well, it sounds like you've done really well to collaborate there. Okay, another question for all three of you. Are there any ways in which you can empower the voices of the refugees that you work with?
This is something, sorry, yeah, something which we're quite conscious of. I think we work with we support mostly young people here, and a lot of them are still experiencing trauma and are still, for a lot of people, still seeking asylum. So that comes with obviously a lot of complications and stress. So although we want to encourage it, it's something which we're allowing to sit until they want to actively explore that aspect. But there is one member of the community here who is a paediatric surgeon, and I think for him this whole situation has been insane, because I remember at the youth club before, when the virus was just starting, we heard about it as like a distant thing in China, and he said we need to close the youth group, and everybody laughed. Everybody was laughing and saying that's so dramatic, we don't need to do that, and now we're here. So for a surgeon who's not allowed to work and who saw the situation coming, I think one of the things where it makes me feel very passionate towards doing is joining and doing what we can to raise awareness about the access to work and campaigns which advocate for that, because I think so many people, it's not just this one person who we know, so many people have been in this frustrating situation. So I think there's a lot which can be done to amplify the voices, but it's about how you do that and ensuring that it's done correctly, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. Ahlen and Maya, do you want to come in on that? I know it's a challenge.
Yeah, so our awareness team in Glasgow is actually working on something called the Refugees of Glasgow, and they're in the process of interviewing our learners. If they want to, there's like consent and everything there, and it's we always have to like ask them and make sure that they're comfortable with it. And thankfully we got like a couple, especially one of the learners who also was very involved in like the Lift the Ban campaign, which recently he shared some of his photos on our WhatsApp, and him with a sign in George Square in Glasgow, and he gave us a little like message that we could share on social media, and I just wanted to like share that with everyone. So he said, asylum seekers want to live a dignified life by becoming taxpayers. They want to contribute to the UK economy. They don't want to live as dependents. They want to live as independent life like others. And we thought that was really lovely. So we asked if we could share that to our social medias so that everyone else could can see from someone who is someone with experience. And so yeah, so hopefully our refugees of Glasgow will be somewhere mid-December, so we'll like post that on our social medias for everyone to like look forward to. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, it's so much more powerful coming from that source, isn't it? So yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, question for all of you again then. How do you extend your reach on social media if you have quite a small following to start with?
that's a good question. Just like share, get all your committee members to share it to your friends and your family, and to their friends and their family. What we managed to do this year is really, and last year was really keep in touch with our partners and the societies that we've worked with last year, and really kept that going and asked them to share on our events or so yeah, I feel like social media is a powerful tool this semester and next semester, so it's good to utilize that and really press that share button online.
Definitely, yeah, we're very reliant on social media now. Maya, could you tell us, how do you engage your members who aren't on the committee, who are part of the society but not on the committee? Because this is something that we've struggled with in the past.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that we've struggled with too, and trying to make everything as collaborative as possible rather than the committee making the decisions and then telling everyone what to do. So the Run for Refugees event was really successful in that. But we've also established a film club, because we found that we'd open meetings up to all members, not just committee. But I think they were quite an intimidating place to speak, like if you're not on the committee and like you're a bit new. So the film club, the idea of that is it works a bit like a book club, and we have a film recommendation every month and then prompt questions that we post along with the film to get you thinking. And then at the end of the month, we all come together for a Zoom discussion. And it actually worked really well. We had our first meeting on Tuesday. It was quite a small group, but I think that almost was nicer because everyone was talking, everyone was cameras on. Like, it was actually a chance to get to know people, which is so hard on Zoom and in meetings. But yeah, it was really nice. And hopefully we're going to carry that on as well next term. And just to go back to how to get your reach out there. So our film choice for last month was for Sama. And one thing you can do on social media is just make sure you tag loads of accounts. So we tagged for Sama and Action for Sama Instagram accounts, and they shared it on their Instagram for us, which was kind of amazing because they have loads of followers. And yeah, similarly, we like to tag our SU and like uni accounts and things to try and get them to share it for us as well. So yeah, but yeah, that has been pretty successful. Oh yeah, and the link to the film is in the chat. It's a great film, would recommend.
I love the idea of a film club. Yeah, that's brilliant. Have either of the other of you tried that? Tash and Ahlen?
We haven't, but I will definitely bring that back to the committee, because we have so many volunteers that we've not really reached out to, only just through like our conversation club, but that's a really good idea actually, and I'll bring that up to our next committee meeting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's such a good idea, and kind of a subtle way as well of spreading the message. We haven't really dabbled with like a regular film club, but last year we did have one event where we watched something. But one thing I would suggest is maybe like after you watch something in a group of people, it's great, everyone's come together and everyone's like opened up like this ball of energy, but then maybe it would be good afterwards to have an action to take, because sometimes when I watch something I feel like I have so much, so like I need to go for a run or something, but actually to do a targeted action afterwards would be a nice way to finish off the event.
Yeah, that's such a good suggestion. We used to have a lot of, the idea kind of came from, we used to have a lot of in-person screenings. So we were like, oh, how can we translate this to being online? But yeah, if you've got like a petition that you can send people to, or like write a letter to your MP, that's such a good idea of extending it into an action.
Great. Okay, another question from the audience here. Tash, what would you say is one thing that makes your star group successful?
I think this is so cliche, I'm really sorry, but it's probably passion, because the thing is, last year, most of our volunteers now are long term, so we've been volunteering since last year and into this year as well, which really makes a difference if you are able to commit the time and like the longevity of it. But I think that also, based on that last year, so when we had English club and we also had a football club as well, and we had a youth group on a Friday, so we were meeting the same people and building the same community 3 occasions a week. So this was really useful, and it meant that, you know, we can build trust naturally and start to get like a baseline relationship with people. So I think passion and like friendship, I guess. Sorry, this is really lame, but it is probably what makes it more unique. And also that everyone's sort of a similar age group. It really allows like a gelling to go on, if that makes sense.
No, it's not cliche if it's true. I think, yeah, that's very reasonable. And same question to you, Ahlen. What is one thing that you think makes your group successful?
I think maybe I feel like my committee is very large. We have so many members, and we have like a fundraising team and an awareness team. And last year we managed to do so many events overlapping, which is amazing. And this year, especially when they really have to be a lot more creative and adapt to the times, it's just great to have a fundraising team really thinking about like all the different fundraising things we could do, and an awareness team doing the same thing. So and also similar to Tash, passion. It's really great when you really establish relationships with your partner organizations, and especially your community, especially with our learners, having that session every Monday for Conversation Club to happen. You really get to know everyone, and they can really get to know you. So you form like that relationship very naturally. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely having a lot of people does help. Definitely, you can't do it all yourself. And same question to you, Maya. What's one thing that makes your group click?
Yeah, it's been such wholesome answers. It's so sweet. Yeah, we have a super dedicated committee and wider membership as well, who are just as dedicated as the committee, which is amazing. Putting on events like the Run fundraiser always a bit scary, because it's like, if no one shows up, this is going to be a bit embarrassing. But everyone always goes above and beyond. And then on top of that, we have the additional perk of being based in Brighton, which is just a very welcoming city. So we are always really well supported when we put things on in the community. Yeah, always have really good turnout when we have our gigs, or even when we used to be able to have our in-person stalls. Like, I think people are very open and willing to have a chat and learn in our community.
Brilliant, that's really great. So Maya, staying with you, have you not noticed too much anti-refugee sentiment in the community or amongst students then? You found most people to be quite positive?
Yeah, I think yeah, I do think Brighton is unique in that, though, slightly. And we are lucky to have Caroline Lucas as our MP, who is very for refugee rights and representing us in Parliament. So a lot of the times when we do things like letter writing campaigns, we actually ask students to write letters to their MPs at home, especially if they come from more rural, southern conservative cities. A bit like, I mean, I'm a perfect example of that. My home MP is very different to Caroline Lucas. So yeah, so I think we're quite lucky in our situation, but realise that it's not universal, so it needs addressing still.
And Tash, have you noticed an anti-refugee sentiment, and have you had to do anything to sort of counter that?
Fortunately, I don't think our star group has encountered anything, but one thing which I'll definitely take away from this conference today is, you know, the idea that if you're not looking to have conversations with people who disagree, or people who are neutral or like susceptible to either side, then you might not be making as much change as you can. So perhaps that's something which Northampton Star needs to reflect on, really, that although we haven't had any backlash, it's not as if we're seeking it, but it's that we're seeking to have more informative conversations.
Yeah, definitely. That's a takeaway for me from today as well. Ahlen, you at Glasgow Star, you've done some brilliant things this year, but if you could do it all again, would you do anything differently?
Well, that's the beauty of it. If you we really struggled and challenged ourselves this year, and if we didn't had any of those, we wouldn't be closer as a committee. But one thing I would think of is just get our online conversation club starting as soon as possible, because it took us quite a while to really get that going. So knowing that the challenges that we faced this semester, just because we started off with the ideas of an outdoor conversation club, just to scrap that and go straight towards online conversation club and really tend to everyone's needs through access, smartphones and top-ups, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've been very flexible. That's good. Maya, same question to you. If you could do anything differently, would you?
Yeah, I mean, not much, to be honest. One thing that possibly could have changed was our Run for Refugees fundraiser. We did it over 2 weeks. I think that was partly because I was very nervous that no one was going to join, so it was going to be just the committee having to run the miles. But actually, so many people joined, and the kind of concentrated bursts were the first couple of days and then the last weekend, in terms of both donations and, well, the effort was fairly consistent actually. But I think we could have definitely done it in 1 week, rather than over 2, and then maybe concentrated the attention on it a little bit more rather than dragging it out.
Right, to keep the momentum going for
exactly.
that 1 week. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. I'd just like to take the chance to open questions up to the floor. So if anyone in the audience has anything they'd like to ask our panel, just before we close, feel free to unmute yourselves and just ask. I'll give about 10 seconds of silence just in case anyone wants to. Oh, and as Emily says, or to share stories about what you've been doing and the successes that you've had in your groups. Feel free to jump in now. All right, just pause for
Sorry, I was going to jump in. I was wondering if there's anyone out there who's, because something that we've definitely noticed is a lot more collaboration between groups because we've been doing everything online. And I was wondering, I know there's been some really great stuff for groups have joined up together to do, and you know, groups that are actually quite far apart geographically, but still joined up to do some really great events online. I don't know if anyone's got any thing to add about that or any tips they've got for how to make that work. But no pressure. If everyone's too tired to speak now, that's also fine.
Actually, I do know quite a few of the star groups who worked on the Ice and Fire performance the other day, and I was watching it, and it was really emotional. Like the actors were really amazing, and that's really great that we managed to do that collaboratively. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I wonder if anyone else was there as well, because I could only see the 3 actors, not really like everyone else, so I wasn't sure what the turnout was.
Yeah, I completely agree. Northampton Star hasn't personally done any like joint events, but personally I've definitely been joining events, which is amazing. Like the talk with Guali Pasale and the Ice and Fire event, like it's amazing what you can just like piggyback onto, I guess.
Great. Okay. Thank you for sharing, everyone. I think we've given enough time if people wanted to jump in. Before we close, from each of you from the panel, if you could give one piece of advice to groups who are maybe struggling a little bit, maybe a little bit smaller, and finding it tough to adapt to the online world. Maya, what's one tip that you'd give to people?
One tip for smaller groups when starting out, what we did as well, is collaborate with other societies. That's a really good way to get your name out to new people, and also just have support in putting on events. So we've collaborated with Amnesty, and we've got something in the works with the Oxfam Society at Sussex with Families Together as well, because they're also charities that work on the same campaigns as STAR. So it's really good in that way. And then also STAR National is so helpful. So if you need any help, they're great to reach out to.
Brilliant. And Ahlen, any pieces of advice from yourself?
Yeah, I completely agree with Maya. For the smaller groups out there, don't be afraid to give anyone a message. You can give us a message if you'd like, and really collaborate with other societies who are very similar to you, because we've made so many friends through collaborative ceilidhs, where we did like a big dance for everyone and raised a lot of money for that. So you just need to know that lockdown isn't forever, so it'll be a lot more easier next year as well. So yeah, just start, be the first person to really like put yourself out there and ask if they want to collaborate with you, and hopefully that'll be the beginning of a lovely relationship.
Yeah, I would echo that as well. Collaborations is it's a brilliant way to expand your reach. And any advice from you, Tash, on how people, any advice for smaller groups at all?
Yeah, I definitely agree with all that's been said already. And I guess I would just say, don't let your fear of like how big the obstacles seem stop you from doing anything, because it does just take that like initiative, just a small spark to get the ball rolling, and then suddenly you'll be doing something which right now you think is like not possible for your group. So I think don't focus on how much, like don't focus on your end destination, just focus on a little bit at the start and you'll be on the way.
That's great advice. Thank you, Tash, and thank you to all of our panel. I think we'll finish there. It's been so useful to hear from all of you. It's really encouraging. I've got a little list of things that I'm going to do in my group, and I hope that all the audience has found it as useful as I have. I guess all that's left is for me to pass back to Amos. And can I just say, before I do, a massive thank you to Amos and Emily and everyone who's organised this conference. It's just been so encouraging to see the bigger picture and to hear what other star groups are doing. So thank you so much.
You cheeky boy. Thank you so much to Isaac, to Maya, to Ahlen, and to Tash for a fantastic afternoon panel, and to bring so much inspiration. I'm coming away, even though it's sort of a darkening November night, I'm feeling very, very sunny and very excited. Before we close and sort of talk about the next steps, we wanted to help bring this together even more, and so we invited back Shrouk Elatar, who is who we met earlier today and is one of our trustees, and is a fantastic human being in their own right, so just to give us a few words to sort of take us on our way. So I'm going to pass it straight over to Shrouk, and then I'm going to take it back when Shrouk feels like they've inspired us enough.
I'm going to keep this really short and sweet because I know we've all been on our desks and we're all really tired. So thank you so much for being here. We've all got Zoom fatigue and there's a pandemic out there, but despite this, y'all are still here. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, Star. I love you so much. Being involved with Star for me, honestly, has just changed my life. I would not be the person I am today if I hadn't been involved with Star. And that could be the same for you. Being involved with Star could change your life, but I know that at the very, very, very least, being involved with Star, you'll be changing other people's lives like mine. So thank you for being here. And I can't wait to see what you'll do next. So go out there and change the world for me, please, and bring it back. Show me what you do. Thank you.
I'm so full. Wonderful.
I love you, Amos.
So with that, we are coming to a close here with Star Conference 2020. I'm going to drop 2 links into the chat. The first link is so you can tell us what you thought of the conference, tell us about the sessions you went to, what you thought of them, what we can do differently, where you want to take the things that you learned. If we want to talk more about race and racism, how we can bring racial justice into Star more. If you want to talk about how to work with the media, if you want to talk about how we can collaborate together, which is a big thing we just heard, put those into the evaluation and we can take those and we can use those going forward. The second thing that we've got in your chat is the virtual tote bag. Normally, if you go to a conference, you get given a bag full of stuff, of like reports, ideas, little like the pens with the Star logo on it, that kind of thing. We didn't want you to feel like you're leaving empty-handed. So as a Star team, mostly with Hannah, we put together an amazing little tote bag full of ideas. So every single campaign that we've talked about today, and a few even that we haven't, is in there. All the different, books, films, podcasts, so accounts that we can that you can follow. Those are the kinds of things that we've put in the tote bag. So click that link and that'll give you days of things to do, and you do need days of things to do because at least in England we've got like 5 days left of lockdown, so like that's the perfect amount of time. So unless there's anything else, I'm seeing a lot of love in the chat and also some nice things. That is us for today. Thank you again to everyone that has spoken. Many of them are here. If you've asked a question, if you've just sat and enjoyed what's been going on, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much to the rest of the team who has helped make this happen. What we're going to do now, we're going to send you all this stuff also later, so don't you worry. But if you want to stay on, we're going to have a little bit of time just for processing and reflection, just to talk about what we've heard and what we want to do with that stuff. If you are tired, if you are done, you are free to go. And with all our good wishes, but with that, thank you so much for an amazing day. And if you want to stay on, we'll get into breakout rooms in just a few minutes. So thank you very much.